My name is Jeff Anderson, and I am the attorney, one of the attorneys for a very courageous survivor, Latina survivor, who has now come forward and made the courageous decision to bring a lawsuit in New York against a very dangerous offender. And in the lawsuit, she names lead singer of Aerosmith, Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler is a sexual predator. And in this lawsuit brought by this courageous survivor, Jeanne Bellino, she identifies in 1975, while she was a young teen model and drawn to him and his entourage in New York City, how he took her and committed upon her sexual violence and assault, and in the presence of others and openly, and to her horror. She came forward as a result of another courageous survivor, Julia Misley, who brought suit against Steven Tyler for the sexual assault, the statutory rape of her as a teenager in the 1970s. And because she read about what Tyler had done to Julia Misley, she called us and said, I want to help. I'll be a witness, because he did the same thing to me. So I stand here today with, and on the shoulders of Jeanne Bellino, from whom you'll hear, and she'll give an account of what was done. And I also stand with other courageous survivors and advocates who stand with Jeanne today. And the first is Nomi Abadi. Nomi Abadi is the founder of the Female Composer Safety League, and now has given voice to so many to expose so many perils in the music industry. And I will turn it over to you for a moment, Nomi Abadi, to introduce yourself and why you stand with us here today.
Thank you, Jeff, very much. My name is Nomi Abadi, and I am deeply appreciative to have the opportunity to be here today as the founder and president of the Female Composer Safety League. We are a 501c3 whose mission is to expose and eradicate and heal the issue of sexual abuse in the music composing industry. On behalf of survivors of sexual assault in the music industry, I know the importance of other women standing up for lone survivors. And I'm here in full-fledged support today of our spokesperson for the Latina division of the Female Composer Safety League.
Thank you, Nomi. My name is Julia from Gambira, and I'm very happy also to be here in support of Jeanne. Our organization originated in the USA, but our membership includes Latin American women who live and travel to work around Mexico, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Venezuela, Argentina, and Cuba, amongst other countries around the world. Machismo appears all over our culture and regions, and across all different regions in different ways. And so there are women in music who have to deal with gender violence in the music industry, and it's taken a toll on our lives and careers for way too long. We face so much discrimination and erasure on a daily basis. Being a composer poses individual issues across the world, but Latina women face an unprecedented level of gender violence. If this is the way we're treated on the streets, just imagine what happens behind closed doors. Jeanne's courage and bravery of being the second woman to come forward about the horrific abuse she endured from Steven Tyler is a reminder of how much power and courage it takes, what a difference it makes when one so-called survivor steps out to help another and chooses to speak up. One more woman is speaking up, but hundreds and thousands are standing behind her. An assault on one of us is an assault on us all. Thank you.
And thank you, Nomi, Abadi, and Juliana from the Female Composer Safety League. And to Jeanne Bellino, as a Latina woman who said to me, I want my story heard and told. And I want it told from the perspective of who I was as a Latina teenager, now having suffered in silence for decades, not able or willing to be able to come forward until now, and until she was inspired by the courage of other survivors, Julia Misley, and others who have come forward to expose predators in the music industry. And this suit is not just about the predation of Steven Tyler that we know began in the early 70s. But it's about the industry that has continued to protect him. The industry, the entertainment and music industry, the bandmates, the managers, the agents, the top executives at the recording companies, all together making conscious choices to protect predators like Steven Tyler for profit, and to continue to permit him and others like him to ruin and harm and assault and ravage the lives of vulnerable adults and teenagers. So this is about not just Tyler, it is about the industry and the perils that it allows to continue from the past to the present. And so we'd like to turn to Jeanne and the statement that she makes and wants you all to hear about the sexual violence committed by Steven Tyler in New York City as she joined that group, and how he took and used her. And so to you, Jeanne, we will turn to a video that she had given, and now ask you to have her voice heard, frankly, for the first time.
I called Jeff Anderson And I let him know that I was assaulted in a phone booth in broad daylight by Steven Tyler, right about back then. And he he's an angry person inside because I had just at that time, right before he assaulted me, I laughed at his lyrics. Apparently made him angry, but I didn't understand, and I wasn't laughing at him. I just thought, oh, that was the lyric. Okay, that makes sense. And I laughed, as a kid. And we were right by the Warwick Hotel, and I think that's 54 and 6. That's right around there, the Warwick. Capitally in my records was maybe just 4 or 5 blocks away. It was close. So it was a short walk, and we were walking down 6th Avenue. Thing I knew, we were walking by a phone booth, and he flung me in there. And he stuck his tongue down my throat, and his friends are looking outside. My friend was also watching. People walking by were watching, and he started groping me. I couldn't say help because I couldn't talk. He had me pinned against the phone. And I remember the faces of 2 men that were walking by and just stopped and stared. I was clearly struggling. Nobody said stop. Nobody said, get off of her, get off of her. And he was humping me, making, I think, by pretending he was actually having sex with me while his friends were outside laughing, people walking by just staring. Nobody said, get off of her. And nobody stopped him. So I was fighting back. I dropped my portfolio on, because my kid's portfolio was blue. I dropped it on the floor and I got my right arm free. So I grabbed the back of his head and said, I'm struggling around. I'm thinking, get your knee up. He just suddenly flew back out of the phone booth. It just kind of flew back. I was in shock. I quickly turned around and faced the phone because I had to fix my clothing. And I thought, please, when you turn around, have nobody there. Please, when you turn around, don't have anybody there still looking. And so I put my clothes back together in the phone booth, not facing the street. And I picked up my portfolio and I ran out of the phone booth. And there was just a few pedestrians there staring. He said nothing, but he couldn't because his tongue was down my throat. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. I'm going to wear long things. If I pin a girl against the wall, nobody's going to see if our pants are down. You put your tongue down her throat, she's not going to be able to yell help. He's a professional. It was humiliating. It was shocking and mortifying. For a few seconds, you don't know what's happening, and then you know what's happening. And that was my first sexual experience with a boy or a man. People that we had around us, pedestrians and his friends or bandmates, whatever they were, they just watched. Apparently that was a thing, or one of them, I assume one of them would have said, get off of her. But they did not. No. I didn't want to turn back and see all those people still staring at me and, to be laughed at while that's happening to you and you haven't had any sexual experiences yet in life. It's humiliating and degrading and extremely upsetting. It's very dehumanizing to do that to somebody. I certainly hadn't been looking for anything like that. Fixed my clothing back on and I picked up my portfolio. I was trying to run up to my girlfriend and say, I'm Hispanic, and she had a Spanish boyfriend. So when we didn't want people to hear, we would speak in Spanish. And I would tell her, are you going to stay with him or, quiere conmigo? You want to go with me? And I want to go home now. And I was trying to catch up to her. And I walked into the dark entrance on the side of the hotel is a bar. And I saw her going ahead with Brad towards the elevators, and I called her and she turned around. She just laughed and waved me off. And I thought, oh no, I can't get on a train. My heart was beating, and I felt like I was going to get sick or faint. My heart was pounding. My heart was just pounding. And so when she got in the elevator and I realized, control yourself, you got to get home. He came out of nowhere. He came out of nowhere, and I didn't even see him coming, but he must have been waiting for me, because he jumped and pinned me again against the wall. And same thing, stuck his tongue down my throat. He started humping me, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. This is crazy. Get out of here, get out of here. But the doorman, he looked like, oh, this isn't right. He had that expression on his face. So I pulled the back of Steven Tyler's hair again. I got my right arm free. And he whispered in my ear something like, I'm going to my room to do something quick. I don't know what he said, but it was something that he was going to do quickly. And I thought, well, whatever, get away from me. And my heart was pounding again. And I thought, just sit down, sit down. Maybe there's a chance my girlfriend comes down in the elevator and we can jump in the cab and get home. Just sit down. And I was sitting in the hotel lobby thinking, what am I going to do? And he had a man watching me. One of his friends was watching me while he went up to his room. And I looked at the women behind reception, and they looked at me like I was some young hooker, and that I was there on my own volition. And they looked at me with such disdain and then contempt. It was mortifying. The man that was watching me used the hotel lobby phone. 2 seconds later, hung up and said to me in front of everybody in the lobby, okay, you can go up to his room. And I couldn't talk. I just shook my head. No. And he said, no, you can go up now. I'll take you. And I said, so I got up because he started to come for me with his arm out. And I thought, you're not grabbing me next. So I bolted towards the door where the doorman was, and he came towards me. He was 3 feet from grabbing me, and I thought, is he going to assault me and everybody going to let him? But the doorman flung me like a rag doll into one of the cabs they had outside the hotel, and he yelled at the driver, go! And thank God for that doorman, the only one with any heart, soul, or sensibility, And the cab driver just took off really fast. Now I was crying hysterically. And I said, I don't have enough money to get to Queens Boulevard. I only had $15. I said, I've just been assaulted. And he said, it's okay. Just give me what you have and I'll bring you down by, Forest Hills. And so when he did bring me near my home, maybe a half a mile away, I got out and I ran, and I didn't want to see anybody. I just ran home. And when I came home, I fell apart. Soon after I stopped eating, I fainted on Queens Boulevard. At the hospital, they told my mother, well, she's anorexic, 1, and 2, she has an erratic heart. So she has to see a cardiologist and she needs a psychiatrist. They must have figured something happened to me, because the cardiologist did ask me if something happened to me, but my mother did not want to pay for a psychiatrist, and she did not want to take me. And I never told her what happened anyway. Of course not my mother. So nobody in my family except my little sister understood what had happened to me. Because when I came home, she was the only one home. And by the time I walked in the door, I mean, just let loose. And I just cried hysterically. I was so mortified, so dehumanized, denigrated, violated. I, yeah, that was my first experience with a boy. And it was quite violent. And it was quite degrading the way it happened. I want it released now, not only to back up Julia's account. It became a lot more than that. I want, first of all, I want his representatives to know, and they're women. Do they have daughters? Do they have children? Like, look what they're representing. He's quite sick in the head. What he did to me, and I'll tell you, he never even asked me what my name was. He it never even. It's like, I'm just going to use you like a tissue and throw you out. I couldn't have felt more used, and that was very degrading, and it was dehumanizing. And thinking of it, yeah, it took my appetite away. I absolutely think it's important to tell my story so that people who admire him, or they've met him for 5 minutes and he's pretended to be nice, he's not nice. He's quite sick in the head. And what he's very willing and happy to do to a woman or a young girl, I'm going to just say young girl, he cannot be allowed to do what he did to me. And I'm sure I was not the first to get thrown in a phone booth. He seemed to be particularly adept at that. He knows. Pin them down, stick your tongue down their throat. They cannot yell for help. They can't scream. Very hard to squirm. For a skinny little guy, he was surprisingly strong. He was able to pin me for those minutes he had me pinned and was using me so that he could make a public display of me. I don't appreciate that. I'd like to tell him and his friends that. No, it's many, many years later. I didn't forget. Could any woman forget? Could any woman forget such a thing happened to her? I don't think so.
I'd like to speak to Jeanne at this point, and I'd like to say how angry I am for you. I'm angry. You mentioned something. You said he's a professional, and he's sick in the head. He is a professional. He knew what he was doing. These men are predators. They see it, they detect it, they want it, they get it. That's what they do. And you're not only a victim of this person who calls himself a person, you're a victim of the industry itself. And I'm angry for that little girl. I'm angry for the woman who had to live her life with that every single day, and the fact that you felt alone. You are not alone any longer. There is a beautiful song by Lili Quintana, and she says in her song, si tocan a una, respondemos todas. They touch one, and we all respond. On behalf of the Chicano women in the United States, Mexican American women, Mexican women, we stand with you, we stand with your voice, we feel your pain, and we are angry with you, and we are angry for you. No matter the industry, no matter that predator, we are all here to fight with you. We love you, we support you, and we're sending all our love.
Thank you, Social Martin, Nomi, Abadi, Juliana, Bauer, and Gardenia, and all the survivors who find their voice, and to you, Jeanne Bellino, today, You are not alone. You have stood up and you have spoken up so that others can be protected and this industry can be exposed. And all those in the industry that have permitted Tyler and others like him to prosper and to profit. And so, with gratitude and hope, we stand with you. And in praise of your courage and the courage of every survivor who now does come forward. This survivor under the Gender Motivated Violence Act in New York, where we brought suit, that allows survivors to bring such a suit until the end of November in New York, and with Julia Misley, who allows survivors in California to bring suit and have their truth known under the Adult Survivors Act for adult rape victims. And to that end, and to all the survivors of Tyler and others like him, we express deep gratitude and great hope that you have made a difference. And that today, by this truth being known, we are making a difference. And so thank you. We're now going to, because Jeanne is a Latina woman that really wants to give voice to Latina survivors, we're going to turn this over now in Spanish. So we'll conclude the English portion and go right into this. And I will invite you, Nomi, to begin, and then we'll turn it over to Juliana, and then we'll turn it over for final comments from you, Sochil Martin.
Thank you, Jeff. Before I turn this over to Juliana, I want to echo your sentiments applauding this incredibly brave and bold survivor and this beautiful support system. Sochil is just incredible, and I'm so deeply, deeply honored once again to be here. There's so much that happens behind closed doors in the music industry. I know Juliana's going to speak more about this, but I just wanted to reiterate the fact that so often these powerful figures, these influential figures, sometimes stars who we admire, we are found having business meetings with these individuals, sometimes after 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes these business meetings occur at a party, sometimes a street corner. What we see from the outside is very different than what some of us, especially the Latina community, experiences behind closed doors. Because all over that glitz and glamour, it is coated in shame. We cannot understate the sense of inclusion and restoration and healing in a community for survivors. Please, Juliana, continue.
Hola, Nomi Abadi es el líder del grupo llamado Female Composer Safety League, que tiene una misión de erradicar y sanar el abuso sexual, específicamente entre la industria de la música. Estamos muy agradecidos de poder añadir nuestras voces en nuestro apoyo para Jeanne, y entendemos que este tipo de violencia de género que suele pasar detrás de las puertas, afuera del público, pero a veces en plena liga, es prevalente, no solamente en la industria musical, pero en otras las industrias y estamos aquí para apoyar. Para dar más contexto, hola, soy Julia Misley, soy de Puerto Rico y soy la representante latinoamericano de la organización del el Female Composer Safety League, que es la organización dedicada a proteger los derechos y futuros de compositoras femeninas por todo el mundo entero. Como dije antes, nuestra organización originó en los Estados Unidos, pero la membresía incluye gente de Latinoamérica, ¿no?, que vive y trabaja en México, Puerto Rico, Brasil, Venezuela, Argentina y Cuba. Lo siento que solo hablo español, pero que hay otros idiomas por ahí, pero ser compositora es diferente en todas partes del mundo, pero a través del internet y las redes que nos juntan por el trabajo internacional, nuestras luchas están conectadas. Si alguien nos tira, si alguien nos hace daño a una individual, es un daño para todas nosotras. Y hay que apoyar uno entre otros, aunque haya mucha vergüenza o aunque si te sientes silenciada, no tiene que ser algo público, pero nosotros nos apoyamos mucho. Uno entre otro en cualquier manera que podemos. La justicia se logra con sensibilidad y acción dirigida por las personas valientes que salen públicamente, y estamos aquí para apoyar a nuestra hermana Jeanne. El mayor problema de las mujeres que trabajan en la industria de la música es la prevalente violencia de género contra ellas. Y debido a la prevalencia del machismo en las historias de mujeres con experiencia del acoso sexual y otras formas de violencia de género suelen ser borradas, nosotras nos dedicamos a apoyar a las mujeres que quieren hallar la justicia para poder seguir trabajando tranquilamente. Estamos abiertos por si se quieren juntar a nosotros también. Gracias.
Gracias, Juliana Funkauer, Gardenia, and to gracias, Nomi Abadi, for founding the Female Composer Safety League. And finally, some words from you, Sochil Martin, courageous survivor who found her voice, who has spoken up, who has become a powerful advocate across all of Latin America and part of the whole globe. And we'd like to have you share your thoughts and your view with all of us today.
Thank you, Jeff. Muy buenas tardes a todas las personas que nos están escuchando y muchas gracias por darme esta oportunidad de poder, en conjunto con estas sobrevivientes, quienes escuchan, quienes han hecho un gran trabajo, Nomi y quien representa su organización, Juliana, Jeanne, dentro de esta misma canción que te platicaba. Hay una parte en esta canción que ella dice, yo soy María, yo soy Juana, yo soy Sara. En este caso, también somos Jeanne. Nosotros somos Jeanne. Aquí las barreras de quién lo hizo para nosotras fue un depredador. Fue un depredador quien te lo hizo. Y cuentas con esta organización y cuentas con las mujeres que están alrededor del mundo, las mujeres que son de tu raza, las mujeres que son sobrevivientes como tú. No estás sola. Yo me llamo Sochil, soy sobreviviente de una secta religiosa. Fui llevada por la mujer quien yo amé como mi madre. Me crié en el sistema pobre. No fui nadie, yo no sé lo que es estar en el mundo, se podría decir, externo al mundo en el que yo y abuso sexual infantil. Y yo te digo ahora, los paralelos de tu mundo y mi mundo no son muy diferentes. Y aquí estamos en conjunto todas, unánimes, de la mano, para poder ayudarnos, que nos demos la fuerza de poder seguir luchando, de poder seguir peleando para que esto realmente ya pare, que no exista más, que estas industrias paguen lo que hicieron y les quitemos el poder, quitemos el poder que lamentablemente tú y yo y todas nosotras somos víctimas de. Te mandamos un fuerte abrazo y muchas gracias a todas las personas que están aquí con nosotros ahora y que están sacando estas notas hacia el mundo y que se sepa quiénes son estos depredadores como Steven Tyler. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Sochil Martin, and to all of those that spoke and stood with us today, and to all the survivors that have and will, because you're not alone. And we can and do make a difference by sharing these painful truths. And to you, Jeanne Bellino, our gratitude to you for your courage and your truth. And you're not alone. And you have made a difference in our lives. And by doing so, we'll do something and have to protect others from enduring the horror that we know you have and so many others have that may not have to in the future. Thank you.